All I know is we're talking about Morocco today.
We're talking about Morocco. That's correct. And really just want to learn more about why you went to Morocco and what you did while you're in Morocco. And yeah, we're going to learn about your vacation last month. So,
all right. First of all, let's introduce Andrew Olson, our newest wealth manager. Happy to have you on board. You're working more and more with our clients these days. Excited for that too. And why are you interested in my Morocco trip?
Well, first of all, I followed it as other people might have on social media. I followed it, and it looked like it was not your typical vacation, that's for sure. And it's first of all, Morocco's an interesting place to go on vacation. You think vacation, and like maybe this is just because I'm like 25, but the idea is like I'm thinking like Cancun or like Florida or the Keys or something, but you're like Morocco, and I'm like, I know a little bit about Morocco, but only very peripheral stuff, and so I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you can't even get a drink in that place.
Yeah, I was like, what? Yeah.
I mean, you can find them, but you got to go to a hotel or like after a long day. I was like, I wouldn't mind a beer.
Yeah.
None. It was really hard to find if you knew where to go, but I wasn't willing to make that much effort to get a beer either.
Yeah. Well, what called you to Morocco?
So I was traveling during Christmas time, and I was traveling alone. So I'm not married, no kids, and single. And I'm like, well, I don't want to go to a place where everybody's married, kids, single, or married kids and celebrating Christmas.
Yeah.
So I narrowed it down to say, well, I want to go to a non-Christian country for Christmas. That'll be kind of cool. And then I want to do something on a vacation. One of the things I've been trying to do in Atlanta was learn ceramics. It's not that easy. First of all, traffic patterns. If you find a school, you have to get there.
Yeah.
And then second, they have waiting lists. And so I was like, well, I want to go to a non-Christian country where I can learn ceramics. So I Googled it or ChatGPT'd it. And it was like, the capitals of pottery or ceramics or Oaxaca. Okay. I spent last Christmas there. Yeah. Japan was there last summer. And Morocco. So Morocco it was.
Yeah, that makes that
was my funnel.
Yeah, well that's awesome. And yeah, the pottery part is super interesting. I mean, first of all, let's just get some background. I mean, what draws you to pottery in the first place? I mean, what do you like about pottery before we get into what did you learn in Morocco?
I mean, to me, the pottery that I like is very clean. It's very organized. It's very thoughtful. It's very intentional. It's just beautiful. It's graceful. Like all these things that I define as beauty, you can do with pottery. And I'm always like, well, I would like to learn how to do that. Especially after like looking at like a $20 mug or something.
Yeah.
You're like, what if I could do that? Not like that. These are experts. But I was like, I want to learn that. I just find it very beautiful.
Yeah. And do you feel, like we were just talking about this, but do you feel like we live in a world that's a little like Amazon white plate that's just like $10 and you get a set of 4 white plates and they have nothing on them, or like $4 for a mug on Amazon or something, and there's a little bit of an art lost in that, compared to pottery where it looked like, from your experience, it's an intensive work ethic, and it's really perfectionist. It's all done by people. There's no machines or 3D printing involved. It's very human oriented. Do you feel that there's like an element there that drew you in?
Yeah, clearly I don't like the banal pottery barn plate. But I am really attracted to the idea that human beings have touched something before I have, and the fact of like, I drink coffee in the morning. All coffee is hand-picked.
Yeah.
There's not like, that I'm aware of, I haven't seen them yet, like ways to pick coffee like we would get corn, right? Where you just mow it down. So it's hand-picked, like somebody's hands have touched that. Like for instance, when I grew up, all pistachios were red. Have you ever had that?
No.
Like a red pistachio, you eat it and your hands turn red?
No, I've never seen this.
Well, they would do that because pistachios had the sweat stains of the workers who clean them, right?
Oh, wow.
And so like the oil from people's hands are on your pistachio. I was about to say something completely inappropriate. Yes, okay. And then they're all like, they touch like the food that you have. And so like when you have a plate and you know that a human being made this thing, that adds more power to it. And then it comes from the earth. Like that's pretty interesting too. And it could create a sense of connection in an anonymous world.
Yeah.
And even if you don't know who picked your coffee, but if you think about it, or you don't know who made your plate, but you realize that somebody took a life force and energy and created a plate. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And the work that we saw, and we'll share clips of the work that we saw on your Instagram story was, I mean, it was beautiful work, and to see the process from beginning to end was really cool. And there's another element I want to ask you about, which is, again, contrary to like a normal kind of vacation. It's like when I go on vacation, like the idea is like, you're kind of far away from work, and we love what we do here, so our brain's kind of always in that work mode. But you seem to take work with you on vacation, not in the financial sense. Of course, you're I guess always on call for that stuff, anyways. But you took it with you in the, like, you went to go somewhere to work, which is kind of the opposite of what most people do on vacation. Most people go to forget about work or to be separated from that environment, and so that's interesting. So what's the idea behind going on vacation to work?
Yeah. So, and then interestingly enough, I read a book about work too. So I only brought one book with me. I brought two, but the other one, like, I brought one, and I read one like 3 or 4 times on the same vacation. I would read a chapter and read it. And it was about work. It's by David Whyte, the Irish poet who lives in the United States now. And the one thing that he keeps hitting home is, you're always working. You have no choice. If it's not, like, you can retire, you can sell your business, but you still work.
Yeah.
Maybe it's work around the house. Maybe it's inner work. I think that the fear of inner work is what keeps people working so long, or keeps people continuing to buy business. And so, like, what I want to do in my life is incorporate the inner work with my actual life. Like, so I don't want to have to wait to retire and be like, then I'll think about what life means, right? Or if with a hobby like ceramics, where you have to learn to, like, the perfect analogy is you have to center the clay. If you don't center the clay, it doesn't work. I tried building stuff off non-centered clay. I thought it was pretty centered, and Muhammad's like, no, this isn't centered. Like, you have to do it right. And so part of, like, I don't want to just go sit in a cave and think about, like, what's the purpose of life. I'm the type of person who has to learn how to center clay at the same time, exhaust myself, and somehow simultaneously think about what life means. What's my purpose? And maybe after 3 hours of doing that, like, I've gotten to a higher place, but I don't really know how I got there. I just know that by working with mud, I created a new type of clarity for myself, a new type of vision. And so this idea that, I'm going to go on vacation to Cancun, drink my face off, and then somehow be better off to go to work is crazy. That's just avoidance.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying I never had a vacation like that. But it's, to me, where I'm more interested and gravitate towards is accepting that work is a reality. And if work is a reality, then what kind of work am I going to choose? Yeah. So I have to work on vacation. I don't want it to be lugging bags from one place to the next, figuring out what restaurant I'm going to go to, all that stuff. I would rather just camp out in Fez, where I was at in Morocco, know that every day from 3 to 6:30, I'm going to be making pottery with some of the most expert, like top 1,000 pottery makers in the world or something. Like, these guys are some of the best in the world. I'd be like, that's going to be my work. And then I don't know what's going to come of it, but that'll be my work.
Yeah. That's awesome. I really like the idea of finding the symmetry between life and then the pottery, and how everything can kind of connect, being centered and stuff. And another word you used on social media was grounding and being grounded. And could you speak a little bit more to that? It seems obvious, what would ground you in pottery, but, like, can you really talk about what you saw, what Muhammad showed you from start to?
Sure. I love how you talk about my social media, like, all my 26 followers saw it. Right. So at this place where they were making pottery, which was this really large shop where they did everything, they started with rocks, ground up the rocks into great, like, pebbles, took the pebbles down to powder, added water, made clay, and then you're spinning it, and then you make a plate, and then they leave it out in the sun, and they bake it. They put it in the kiln, then they paint it, and then they sell it. That was a lot. Going back to grounded, like, it's from the earth. It's from the earth. And if you believe the Bible, or you don't even have to believe Genesis, you can even just have an intuitive feeling that we're from the earth and that we're going to return to the earth. And so the word human, the Latin word is humus, which means earth, means clay. So it's like when you're working with clay, it's going to ground you. When you're working with the ground, it's going to ground you. The word humility comes from that same word. Like for me, working every day for 3 hours, 3.5 hours with this was a process that created humility. But then also I was anonymous for 2 weeks. Yeah. Like I would walk through the town with clay on me. I can pass for a Moroccan any day of the week as long as I'm not talking. Nobody really looked at me. I'm eating lunch, soup, a very basic soup, bisada, which is just chickpeas and water, maybe garlic and cumin every day. And all the construction workers are coming in. And it creates humility. It creates a sense of groundedness. Certainly it creates gratitude for everything that I have in this world, but also just, there for the grace of God go I. If it weren't 110 years ago when my family decided, my ancestors, my great grandparents came over, I could very potentially be in that type of situation, or not, for one or two good decisions I made in life or good luck that I've had, I could be in that situation. So it was a very grounding experience. I felt very settled. I slept well. I was calm, despite how much coffee I was drinking. It was a great vacation.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it, and it looked like it. Yeah, I think that's awesome, and I learned a lot watching. So
yeah, I mean, and I think so. We connect this to conscious wealth and the 4 pillars of conscious wealth. It had a lot to do with perspective and the humility that I gained by doing this work. Had a lot to do with connection to these teachers that I had. I was the local celebrity at the shop. Everybody knew my name. They come in and see me. Like a lot of times you can go on vacation and you're just going from adrenaline rush to adrenaline rush. Oh, look at that. That's a great building. Oh, how interesting. Let's go to the next thing. And you're continually trying to get wowed, where I'm sitting there on this bench kicking and making clay while Muhammad's smoking cigs and drinking espresso out the wazoo. And all these people are coming around to me and I'm meeting all these different people and I'm asking them about their work and learning their lifestyle. And so it's definitely, for me, it was an opportunity to kind of live this conscious wealth ethos that we talk about, to be connected to this idea. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. And the word we use a lot, especially recently, has been integrated, and it sounds like it was very integrated. It was very cohesive. So
yeah, I think everything felt kind of natural. It was like going back to my first days. My first job outside of working on cruise ships was pretty cool. Was working in Egypt, so it was a chance to go back to that North African culture. After that, I went to Lebanon. When I went to Tangier, it felt very much like that. Felt like that culture. Felt like going back, but 30 years later almost, maybe 25 years later. So much more experience being able to navigate those types of situations. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, thanks for chatting with us. Thanks for telling us a little bit about your experience in Morocco. And
cool.